All right, we are all loaded up for a quick run to town. I'm assuming we're about 4,500 pounds right now total in the trailer, including the trailer weight, which is well within the Expedition Max's 9,000 pound towing capacity. This is a four-wheel drive 2023 Expedition Max Tow. Like I said, it has a 9,000 pound towing capacity. It's like 1,895 pound payload. It has 373 gears, and because it's a max tow, it has a bigger transmission cooler. It does a great job of doing light duty towing very, very, very well. This is our family vehicle, and I purposely bought this vehicle so we had a good backup tow vehicle, and if we're out with it, we could easily use it to also tow with. The combination looks nice together, I think. This is a 7-foot tall enclosed trailer, 16 by 7. It currently has a Polaris Ranger 1000 and a Honda TRX. Both of them are going to the local tire shop to get new tires put on. So that's pretty exciting, and unfortunately on the way home, we're going to stop at a Tractor Supply and come home with a new lawnmower for the cabin because my 1993 Montgomery Ward's lawnmower, riding mower, has fully served its time, and it is now being retired from cabin duty. It's broken on me a half dozen times while I've been here. I keep having to jury rig it to keep it working, and I can't waste more time on it. It's going to go back to the shop, and I'm going to hopefully find out why I keep tossing belts out of it. There's something going on with the deck geometry that's causing the belts to throw, even though they're fairly tight. And this time it cut the belt as it threw it. So don't have an explanation for why that problem exists, but it is time to get a new mower after it is. My dad bought it new in 1993. It runs great still, but it's time for a new mower. Unfortunately, it's not something I wanted to do today, but we're going to find out what mower we end up with, and we'll make some YouTube videos about it. So we got to go pick up that, bring it back here, and then hopefully either later on tonight or tomorrow morning, the Polaris and the Honda will be done getting tires. The Honda is getting those whole shot knockoffs from Sun F. I'm sure you guys, if you're into four-wheelers, know what those are. And then the Polaris is getting Sedona ridge saws. So those should work really well in 27 by 12 in the back and 27 by 9 in the front, I think. Something like that. So in this video, we're going to take the 3.5 Ecoboost, and we're going to show how it accelerates with this trailer. Keep in mind, as we go faster, this tall winded trailer, first of all, this trailer does not tow that great. Stability wise is excellent. Wind wise, it tows like it weighs 10 or 12,000 pounds. It's absolutely ridiculous. With the wind on the short trailer, I think there's a lot of tumbling coming off the back of the trailer. As soon as you get over about 50 mile an hour, the windage on this trailer is ridiculous. The V-nose on the front is very shallow, just the nature of it. So this small trailer tows like it is at least 2x bigger than it really is, and weight wise like 4x bigger than it really is. It's absolutely crazy. So we're going to see how the 3.5 handles it and make more expedition content for you guys who have been asking for expedition content. Let's do it. So we're just setting off. Actually, many of you guys have asked, why isn't that focusing? There we go. Many of you guys have asked how I set trailer brake gain. So we'll pull out just a second. What I like to do is, we're on grass right now. I want to see the tires almost lock. Yeah, we're dragging right now. So we'll go down just a little bit. I want to see the tires basically almost lock on pavement with using the trailer brake controller, and that's going to get you set up pretty well for having a decent trailer brake setting. We're just pulling out of a tight little squeeze right now. As you can see, we're going uphill right now. Maybe you can't see. The 3.5 is no problem pulling this amount of weight up a hill. Definitely a fairly decent towing engine. Not only is it a very sporty engine, as many of you know, this is the engine that is in not only the F-150 Raptor, but also the Ford GT supercar, which is pretty crazy to think that a pickup truck motor is in Ford's flagship model. When it first came out, I think a lot of Ford purists and enthusiasts were not super pleased about that. And I'm not gonna lie, I was one of them. But if you ignore the sound that it makes when it has opened up exhaust and ignore the fact that it's just a pickup truck V6, and you just look at its performance, it is pretty darn good. As you can see, we are just gently accelerating right now. and this engine has absolutely no problem moving this combination. My assumption is, and we'll get up to 50 here and we'll do a really quick sway test, especially in a half-ton truck, it's definitely important to make sure that you don't have an issue, because you don't want it to flare its ugly head when you're in an emergency. For instance, if you jam on the brakes for a deer, or if a car pulled out in front of you, you don't want to find out that your combination is unstable when you're trying to avoid someone. So what we're going to do at a little bit slower speed, we'll do 44 or 45. We'll give it a little shimmy. It dampens right out and goes straight. I don't have to put any extra effort in, so this trailer is loaded properly. I'm giving it a little shimmy, and the car isn't trying to kill us. So we know that the trailer is loaded properly. It's a really good, easy test for you to do, besides looking at your load and I guess just knowing that it's loaded correctly. If you can shimmy your car around and the trailer doesn't have self-excited movements where it continues amplifying the force that you put into it, see it dampen right out. So first of all, this is a good towing trailer. A lot of towing stability comes from the trailer's original design, the distance between the axles and the ball, and the way that it is originally designed, and also axle straightness and how square everything was mounted, ball to axle and to other axle, if everything is square. A lot of stability inherently comes from the trailer design before you even load it. But then you can completely screw up that situation by loading it improperly. In this case, I have the Ranger backed in, so the majority of the weight, obviously in a rear engine vehicle like a Ranger or another side-by-side, is at the rear. So I have it backed in, so the weight is just basically above the front axle, more or less, or the 60% of the Ranger's weight, 665, is right over top of the front axle. And then I have the little Honda, which only weighs like 385 pounds, turned sideways at the front of the trailer. And I have some camping stuff in here just because this is normally our hunting camping trailer. There's some random camping stuff still in the trailer, and that's at the very front of the trailer too. I'm not sure that if you backed in if you pulled the Ranger in straight, I'm not sure it would necessarily be unstable, but it seems like to me this is properly loaded as it is, so I think backing in the Ranger was definitely the way to go. So as we're coming out of town here, we'll squeak her up to 55, of course, which is the speed limit on this road. As you can see, this combination moves very easily. We'll set the speed control. In fact, we are in normal mode right now. I wanted to see how the shift points handled. We're holding, looks like 8th in normal mode. And we'll change really quick. Whoopsies. There we go. It's easy to go past it. Looks like we're still in 8th in tow haul. So, as I've pointed out with tow haul mode, is your normal mode is going to still protect your engine transmission and try and do its very best to keep you in a reasonable gear and to protect the transmission and the engine, like I said. So it's going to reactively already do more or less what your tow haul mode is going to do. Your tow haul mode is there for you to advise your vehicle, hey, I'm towing or I'm hauling, there's more weight involved, let's plan ahead, and let's be either to hold a gear longer before we upshift or get into a lower gear sooner. We have a corner here coming up, and we're going to see how the combination handles it. I imagine pretty good, but it's a pretty tight corner, so we're going to slow down to a decent amount. There's no reason to overly push tires when they don't need to be, which gives us another opportunity to accelerate. And I guess a good time to talk about braking too. We're in tow haul. See it downshift a little bit. It's not as, that's a pretty decent downshift. It's not as severe of a engine braking calibration in terms of in tow haul mode as my truck. I have a 2023 F350 7.3 gas that I commonly tow with. We're taking this corner at, looks like about 34, 35, totally stable, no issues. If you're searching for an Expedition Max or a 3.5 EcoBoost powered F-150, you're definitely in good shape. I really like that we have a 9-seat? This is a 9-seat capacity vehicle. 9-seat capacity vehicle that also can double as the family tow rig. And this would be roughly equivalent to a small double axle, like a jet boat or pontoon boat. Definitely easily 2 jet skis on a trailer. Common trailers that people would have if they have a second home up north on a lake or something like that. This would be roughly equivalent to a small compact tractor on an aluminum trailer, or even a little bit bigger compact trailer on an aluminum trailer, or a small compact tractor on a steel trailer. just going up that little rise, you can hear that we just did a downshift. If you were, and I because I've towed with this enough, if you have undulations like this where you're going up and down all the time, with this combination, just because it doesn't have the torque of my 7.3 gasser, it definitely does require downshifts or to hold it into a lower gear when you're on undulations. The 7.3 has the capability of taking the same trailer and pulling it up undulations without throwing downshifts in all the time. That would be as simple as hitting the manual button and knocking down a gear. We're going to do that here again on this hill. I'm sure it's going to kick a downshift. Oh, 8 passenger seating, my bad. Whatever it is a very decent. Oh, it didn't. It held 7th. Okay. We have another corner here, and then what we'll do is we'll go pretty slow coming out of the. Actually, it's the next corner that we have to go pretty slow out of. So maybe we'll show a little bit more brisk of an acceleration there. The 373 gears really complement this transmission in its ratios and this engine. I don't really know why we have to pull teeth to get proper gear ratios in vehicles that have trailer hitches on them. It should kind of be, oh, here's a treat, a Rivian towing a Ranger on an aluminum trailer. Heck yeah. I like the SUV one better, but that's okay. So we'll come out of the corner here and we'll get on it just a little bit. Not that a drag race is needed, but get into the boost a little bit. Definitely fairly sporty. So hopefully I gave you a pretty good idea of what it's like to tow about 4,500 pounds with an Expedition Max or a 3.5 EcoBoost. In looking at the Ford schematics, I'm pretty sure that the and as you get on the brakes more clearly, it did a pretty good job of getting a downshift in there. Or not schematics, but details. Oh, there's a cop here. I'm going to really quickly sign off, and we'll get back on once we aren't being checked for cell phone usage. I'm not being checked. He's just reading. I want to conclude this with a really quick handling thing. The Expedition surprisingly dampens out trailer movement extremely well in stock configurations. One thing I've noticed about this thing, we're going to go over a bump here and a rise. It's amazing. You can really feel the rear suspension do an excellent job of damping out. There's a bump right there. It just dampens right out. They did a really nice job speccing out the dampers on these Expeditions. I've heard that from people who own Expeditions, and a lot of people that I race sailboats with ended up getting Expeditions and towing 10 or 12,000 pound sailboats with Expeditions. And yes, I know that's over the rating, but it was commonly done. 1,500 Suburbans too, commonly used in the sailboat sphere because people need to have an SUV to put their crap. They need to put the boom, which is part of the rigging, into the truck, and potentially sails that are anywhere between 12 and 14 foot long when they're rolled up. People needed to have SUVs, and once the Excursion 2500, or excuse me, once the Excursion stopped being produced, and once the Suburban 2500 stopped being produced, people needed to have that capability. So they went with Expedition long wheelbases, or they went with Suburbans, and they towed way over the rating. Well, here's a good opportunity. Coming down a nice little hill to a stop sign. But the damping on this thing is actually quite good, and therefore the ride quality loaded like this is still quite good. And I will say too, the turning radius on an Expedition is pretty fantastic as well. All around an extremely good vehicle. We love our Expedition. We have 47,000, good Lord, already 47,000 miles on this thing. It has been a great friend and a really wonderful vehicle. We have very much enjoyed it, both towing and for family trips and going to the beach and all that kind of stuff. Being that it has 4-low, with max tow, you get the true F-150 transfer case, so 4-low and 4-lock, or normal 4-wheel drive as well as all-wheel drive. You get 4-auto as well. And in this, as far as I can tell from the schematics, does have a planetary gear set for auto. It is not a clutch center differential. From what I can tell, it looks to be a planetary gear set. If anyone has seen the insides of this transfer case and wants to advise me if I'm wrong, I don't believe that I am, because I did spend a lot of time looking at the schematic, and it looks to be a planetary, but being I've never had them apart, hey, can't possibly know everything. Hopefully everyone enjoyed the video showing you a little bit about the 3.5 EcoBoost in the Expedition Max. I wouldn't want to have any less gear ratio. I don't know why we don't get proper gear ratios in towing vehicles. I think the HO 3.5 and F-150, the best ratio you can get is 355. That is ridiculous. It should, the 373s pair so well with these ratios and keep you in the proper gear at the proper times. As you can see, we're just doing 49 right now, and we're holding 7th, which is 1-to-1. You would be in an underdrive ratio right now if you had 355s. I wouldn't want that. So very happy with being at 50 mile an hour in a 1-to-1 gear. And obviously, if we picked it up a little bit, we'd be able to hold 8th, and that would be our first overdrive gear. We definitely, I think, 373 should just be a standard for a towing vehicle. I wouldn't want to have any less. Everyone take care of yourself and have a great day. Well, after still doing some lawn and other things like that, we finally are picking up the machines and getting back home. Obviously not a heavy amount of weight and obviously not a long distance, but the Expedition does a really good job. One thing to finally conclude on is it may be called an EcoBoost, but there's really nothing eco about a twin turbo engine. This thing gets pretty poor fuel economy when you're towing any amount of wind or weight. 9.7 isn't exactly out of the realm of norm for towing almost anything with this that isn't like a small boat, a pontoon boat or whatever. It doesn't really matter that much, a couple mpg. But my 7.3 gas gets a whole lot better fuel economy, about 2.5, 3 over this, towing the exact same amount of trailer. So that's something to keep in mind. We just climbed a decent hill. There's no doubt that this engine has the power. It's very smooth. It's very easy to drive. I think it sounds nice, but a lot of people don't really like V6s. But this also has stock exhaust. Wouldn't really recommend putting exhaust on a 3.5. They don't really sound that good. Or they don't have an appealing sound like if you had a 6.2 or a 7.3 or 5 liter or whatever. Those sound pretty good, but this engine doesn't really sound that great with exhaust. But fuel economy is definitely not super ideal. That's one of those things when you are making boost, as opposed to some of you guys might not know this. With boost, the air fuel ratio has to be much richer than a naturally aspirated engine when you're in the gas to keep the tops of the pistons cold and the exhaust valve cooler. That's just a norm of all boosted engines. They have to run richer. So not only in order to make the same amount of torque, it actually uses more fuel to make the same amount of torque. So that is something to keep in mind. It is a nice engine, but don't go ignoring the validity of a 3/4 or a 1-ton truck to buy an F-150 or a Expedition and expect to get insanely good fuel economy when towing. When empty, though, this truck has about 4 mpg on my 7.3 gas when they're both empty. So there's definitely a good reason when you're empty, you definitely get better fuel economy with 3.5 EcoBoost. But even so, the nice thing about the Expedition and the Expedition Max is the big fuel tank makes a massive difference to the enjoyment of owning this vehicle. I think that if it had a 22-gallon fuel tank, I think we would be rather irritated with it, as opposed to the fuel tank that it has, which is what, 34? 32? 30? And 0.9 or something. Oh, no, that's the capacity that you could fill it with, but I'm pretty sure it's 32-gallon total tank. It's either 32 or 34, but it makes a big, maybe it's 28, whatever. I'll put it right here. I can't remember every statistic, but we get upwards of 500 miles empty without really too much of an issue, and for sure 480, that's not hard to pull off. And towing, you're looking at high 300s before you really should be thinking about getting a load of fuel, because obviously you don't ever, when you're towing a trailer, want to just run the thing out, because that's just kind of banking on the risk of a gas station when you need it not having the fuel you need, or being a dirty station or whatever. Maybe you don't want to go to it, or a high price. So you might be able to get over 400 miles towing with this, but that's running her awfully dry. Wouldn't recommend that. Take care, everyone. Have a great day.